let's dive into something a little different today.
Yeah.
We're talking Leprechaun. Origins.
Uh-huh.
That 2014 reboot
Right.
that kind of tried to flip the script
Yeah.
on what you might think of when you think about, like, a Leprechaun movie.
Totally. If you're thinking Warwick Davis,
Right.
cracking-wise and chasing after his gold, this is not that.
Yeah. This one throws all that out.
Yeah, for sure.
It's like they took the whole myth
Uh-huh.
of Leprechaun
Yeah.
and said, what if we strip away all the charm?
Yeah, and just
The meshic.
the mischief.
Yeah, the playful mischief.
All of that.
And just focus on, like, the raw primal terror.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
To really drive that home, they set the film in this, like, super isolated village in rural Ireland.
Oh, yeah. The setting is, like, perfect.
Yeah.
You've got these 4 American college students
Right.
who are thinking they're going on, a fun little getaway.
Yeah.
They end up stumbling into a total nightmare, surrounded by these creepy forests
Yeah.
and a village that has, some dark secrets.
For sure. For sure. It plays on, like, all this classic horror tropes.
Right.
The isolation, that feeling like something just isn't quite right.
Right.
Then there's this added layer of, like, folk horror
Oh, yeah.
where the villagers are, like, complicit in the whole thing.
Wait, hold up.
Yeah.
You're saying the villagers are in on it?
They're in on it.
Like they're okay with this monster running around?
Well, they're not just okay with it.
Okay.
They're sacrificing outsiders
What?
to keep this thing happy.
Bro,
To appease the creature.
that's messed up.
Yeah.
That's not the Ireland I was thinking about visiting.
Well, yeah.
Rolling green hills, friendly pint at the pub,
Yeah.
and bam, you're the main course.
You're the sacrifice.
Wow.
This element of betrayal
Right.
really, like, adds to the whole tension of the film,
Yeah, yeah.
wouldn't you say?
Yeah.
It's not just about surviving the monster.
Right.
You got to survive the people who you think are going to help you.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
So speaking of the monster,
Yes, the monster.
let's talk about
Michael.
Leprechaun himself.
Yeah.
No more Warwick Davis.
No.
Like,
He's gone.
this is something else entirely.
Yeah. They went for, like, a full redesign.
Yeah.
Forget the little green suit.
Yeah.
Forget the pot of gold.
Uh-huh.
This leprechaun's, like, almost unrecognizable.
Practically unrecognizable.
It's like they took all of our notions
Yeah.
of what a leprechaun looks like
Yeah.
and just chucked them right out.
Burn out the window.
This thing is, like,
Yeah.
sharp edges,
Yeah.
gnarled features.
It's like almost animalistic.
Yeah.
They really went for practical effects and prosthetics, aiming for that, like, visceral creature feature vibe.
Oh, yeah.
Less mischievous trickster
Uh-huh.
and more just straight up nightmare fuel.
And you know what?
Yeah.
They actually got a WWE wrestler,
Oh, wow.
Dylan Hornswoggle Postal, to play him.
Interesting.
I know, right?
Okay.
Which kind of adds to that sense of, like,
Yeah.
the raw physicality
It's true. Yeah, it does.
that they were going for.
It does.
Right.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, so we've got a new setting.
Yeah.
Super creepy.
Uh-huh.
We've got, like, a totally redesigned monster.
Uh-huh.
How does that affect the whole tone of the film?
Well, it's safe to say Leprechaun. Origins is not a comedy.
Yeah.
They've completely ditched the dark humor and the satire of the originals.
Right.
And they just went straight for, like, a gritty horror experience.
Yeah, you're not going to find any cheesy one-liners in this one.
No, definitely not.
Or any of those, like, wink-wink moments.
All right, exactly.
This is a suspense,
Yeah.
survival,
Uh-huh.
and some pretty gruesome violence.
It's got, like, a slasher film vibe,
Yeah.
but with that folklore twist. Oh. Yeah, it's almost like they were trying to distance themselves
Yeah.
from the past, of the franchise. Like, they really wanted to create something totally new.
Yeah.
But, you can still see some of those echoes of the original films.
Okay.
There's, like, these little thematic threads that connect them.
Okay, like what?
Yeah.
What are some of those threads?
Well, greed is still, like, a driving force.
Okay, so there's still room for the greedy leprechaun in this, like, dark, gritty reboot.
It's not about the leprechaun's greed for gold, though.
Okay.
This is about the villagers.
Yeah.
And their desperation to survive.
Okay.
And they're willing to sacrifice anybody
Right.
to appease this creature.
So their greed is for safety,
It's for their own lives. Yeah.
for survival.
Yeah.
That's, like, even more twisted,
It is.
right?
Yeah.
They're so obsessed
Uh-huh.
with their own survival
Yeah.
that they'll condemn, like anyone else,
Right.
to a horrible fate.
Yeah, absolutely.
Whoa.
It raises some interesting questions about greed, doesn't it?
It does, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, how far would you go to protect yourself?
Yeah.
Like, what lines are you willing to cross?
Totally.
At what point does your desire to survive make you a monster?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great question.
Those are some heavy questions.
Yeah.
Man.
It's heavy stuff.
And we haven't even gotten to how the movie was received yet.
No, we haven't.
I'm guessing this drastic shift
Yeah.
didn't sit well with all the fans.
Well, you guessed right.
Okay.
Leprechaun. Origins got like a mixed bag of reactions.
Yeah.
A lot of the longtime fans
Right.
felt like it really betrayed the spirit of the original.
The spirit, yeah.
Yeah,
So it's a pretty divisive film.
it is.
Maybe an outright misstep for some.
Yeah. I mean, for some, for sure.
But there must be something about it that's worth discussing.
Oh, there is. There is. Right.
That's why we're here.
Otherwise, we wouldn't be here doing a deep dive.
Exactly.
Right.
And that's where things get really interesting.
Okay.
Leprechaun, Origins might not be like a good movie
Yeah.
in the traditional sense,
Okay.
but it's a super fascinating case study
Oh, yeah?
in what happens when a horror reboot goes too far.
Too far.
You know, trying to reinvent the wheel.
Right.
And it definitely sparks some really interesting conversations
Yeah.
about what makes a horror franchise work, what happens when you push those boundaries too far.
Yeah. So even if it's not everyone's cup of tea, it's worth examining.
I think so. I think so.
Right.
Yeah.
This film, I think, makes you question like your expectations. It forces you to like confront some uncomfortable truths, I think, about human nature.
Yeah.
And ultimately, it might make you appreciate what made the original so unique.
Yeah.
Like that blend of horror and humor.
Right. That mischievous personality.
Right, which is totally absent here. Yeah, it definitely highlights what you lose when you take a franchise
Yeah.
in a completely different direction. It's
Yeah.
like trying to fit a square peg in a round hole.
Right.
It just doesn't work sometimes.
All right. So we've established
Yeah.
Leprechaun. Origins is
Yeah.
a bold, but maybe not totally successful attempt to reboot.
Yeah.
I'm still curious, though, about some of the specifics
Yeah.
of what worked and what didn't.
Uh-huh.
Like, what about the actual monster design?
Yeah.
Was it at least scary?
Well, that's where things get even more interesting.
Okay.
The creature design, it's undeniably scary,
Okay.
but it seems like in their quest for pure terror, they might have sacrificed something really crucial.
Oh, okay. Like what?
The personality.
Ah.
The personality that made the original Leprechaun so memorable.
So you're saying that even though it's, like, super creepy,
Yeah.
it lacks that certain something
Yeah.
that makes a horror villain,
Yeah.
like, truly iconic.
Exactly. And that brings us to a really interesting question.
Okay.
What makes a horror villain truly stick with you
Yeah.
long after the credits have rolled?
Yeah. What is it?
Is it just about being scary?
Yeah.
Or is there something more to it?
Ooh, I like that.
Right.
Yeah.
It's a good question.
Yeah.
We've got to figure that out.
Okay, so let's unpack that
Okay.
in part 2
Sounds good.
of our deep dive into Leprechaun Origins.
All right.
You won't want to miss it.
Yeah. Stay tuned.
All right.
We'll be right back. It's like you see some of these horror villains and instantly you just know, right?
Right.
They've got that something special.
Right. Like Freddy Krueger, he's
Yeah.
like cracking jokes while you're terrified.
Yeah.
Or Jason Voorhees.
Yeah, yeah.
You see that mask? It's iconic.
That mask.
It's not just about like the scares, it's the whole package.
Exactly.
And I think that's where Leprechaun Origins misses the mark.
Mm-hmm.
The creature design, it's scary,
It is scary.
but it doesn't have the personality
Yeah.
that Warwick Davis brought to the role.
Right. You remember those scenes in the original where he's like rhyming
Yeah.
or obsessed with his gold?
Yeah.
Pure entertainment.
The original Leprechaun, he had this
Yeah.
like wicked charm.
Yeah, he was evil.
Oh, he was evil.
But you kind of had fun watching him, right?
You almost rooted for him
Yeah, in a weird way.
in a weird way.
Yeah.
But this new one, he's just like,
Darkness.
yeah, darkness.
Yeah.
No nuance.
It's a hard balance to strike.
Yeah.
Horror needs a little bit of personality to be memorable, I think.
Right.
And I think the original Leprechaun movies understood that they are scary,
Yeah.
but they were also fun.
Right.
And that's largely because of the Leprechaun himself.
He was a villain you could almost root for.
He was.
See what I mean?
Yeah, he had, like, a sense of humor,
Yeah.
twisted charm.
Right.
You knew he was going to do terrible things.
Yeah. But you also kind of enjoyed watching him do it.
You did.
All right.
This Leprechaun, though, is just
Straight up monster.
pure monster.
No joy in the villainy.
Yep.
No sense of playfulness.
Yeah.
It's brutal.
It's just, like, relentless horror.
Yeah. I mean, that can be effective,
Uh-huh.
but it doesn't really capture, like, the spirit of Leprechaun, does it?
Oh.
You know?
It kind of sucks the fun out.
It does.
But there are some things I liked about Leprechaun. Origins.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, we talked about the setting
Yeah.
being effective
Yeah.
and creepy.
Oh, yeah.
And the folk horror element.
The folk horror elements are really well done.
Yeah.
And that theme of betrayal, man,
Oh, yeah.
that gets under your skin.
And that village.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
so isolated.
So isolated, so atmospheric.
They really nailed that look
They did.
of rural Ireland.
Yeah. The cinematography is beautiful.
It is.
Even haunting, you know?
The way they use the landscape to create, like, that sense of dread.
Yeah.
It's really effective.
Can you imagine, like, being dropped in that village,
Oh, man.
surrounded by woods, not knowing who to trust?
Yeah, that'd be terrifying.
It's a shame they couldn't quite get it right
I know.
with the Leprechaun.
Oh.
If they had kept that mischievous spirit
Uh-huh.
combined with those other really good elements,
Oh, it could have been something special.
it could have been really special.
Yeah, it makes you wonder,
Yeah.
is it even possible to reboot something like Leprechaun
Right.
without losing what made it unique?
What do you think?
It's tough,
A
right?
tough one.
Like, too much change and you alienate the fans,
Right.
but too little change and it feels pointless.
Yes, like what's the point?
Yeah, exactly.
So all things considered,
Mhm.
is Leprechaun. Origins worth watching.
Honestly,
Yeah.
if you're a diehard fan of the originals,
Mm-hmm.
you're probably going to be disappointed.
Huh.
It's so different in tone and style
Right.
that it's almost like a completely separate thing.
But for horror fans, you know, who are looking for something new,
Yeah.
looking for something a little more brutal,
Yeah, for sure.
it might be worth checking out.
I think so.
As long as you go in knowing it's not going to be a laugh riot,
Right, exactly.
like those Warwick Davis films.
Yeah, you got to manage those expectations.
Right.
This one is about atmosphere, dread,
Yeah.
not so much the cheeky fun.
Right. It's almost like it's best to appreciate Leprechaun Origins for what it is,
Yeah.
which is a bold
Yeah.
but maybe not entirely successful
Yeah.
attempt to reboot.
It happens, yeah.
Yeah.
It's a reminder that sometimes,
Yeah.
it's best to stick with what works.
Yeah.
The original Leprechaun formula, as cheesy as it might seem, it had a certain magic,
It did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And sometimes trying to recapture that magic,
Mhm.
it leads to a Leprechaun Origins.
Sometimes reinventing the wheel just leads to a flat tire.
Right.
I love that analogy.
Sometimes it's best not to mess with the classics.
So where would you rank Leprechaun Origins in the, like, pantheon of horror reboots?
For me, it's a swing and a miss.
Swing and a miss. Okay.
But I can appreciate what they were going for.
Uh-huh.
The ambition, the attempt to do something different.
Right.
And who knows, maybe there's an audience out there
Yeah.
who absolutely loves this.
That's the beauty of movies.
It is.
Right.
Yeah.
Different strokes.
Different strokes.
For different folks.
Exactly.
One thing's for sure, though.
What's that?
It definitely gets people talking.
It does get people talking.
Which isn't always a bad thing.
Not at all.
So we've talked about the plot, the creature design,
Tone.
the themes.
The reception.
Are we missing anything in our deep dive?
I think we've covered the major points.
Okay.
But I do want to leave you with one final thought.
Ooh, hit me with it.
Think about the ending of the film.
Okay.
Without giving too much away,
Yeah.
it leaves things open
Okay.
for a potential sequel.
Oh, interesting.
So the question is,
Yeah.
if they did make another Leprechaun Origins,
Right.
what direction would they go in?
Would they lean even further?
Yeah, would they go full-on horror?
Right, like embrace the brutality?
Yeah. Or would they try to bring back some of that dark humor?
Oh, okay.
A little bit of that personality?
Right, try to course correct.
Maybe.
What do you think they should do?
I think there's potential there.
Okay.
But it would be tough, right?
Right.
They'd have to honor the original, but also carve out a unique identity for this new, darker version.
It's almost like they have to decide what they want it to be.
They do.
Right.
Yeah.
Are they going for a completely new take? Or are they trying to build on what came before?
Maybe they need to do both.
Ooh, okay.
Blend the darkness and the light.
Right.
Horror and humor.
It's a tall order.
It is.
But if they pull it off,
yeah,
it could be something really special.
It could be.
All right, listeners, we're throwing this one out to you.
Yeah.
If you were in charge of a Leprechaun origin sequel, what would you do?
Yeah, let us know.
Hit us up on social media.
We want to hear your ideas.
And want to hear them.
And in the meantime, rewatch those original Leprechaun movies.
Yeah.
Think about what made them so memorable.
Yeah, what would you want to see carried over to this new, darker version?
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's all about finding that balance, that sweet spot.
Right, where horror and personality collide.
Yeah.
And who knows, maybe somewhere out there,
maybe
there's a brilliant filmmaker cooking up the perfect Leprechaun origin sequel.
That's going to scare us.
That's going to scare us.
Entertain us.
Entertain us.
And maybe even make us chuckle a little bit along the way.
One can only hope.
One can only hope.
All right, folks. That wraps up part 2 of our deep dive into Leprechaun.
Origins.
Leprechaun. Origins.
We explored the good.
The bad.
The bad.
And the downright creepy.
And the downright creepy.
Ready for the final takeaways?
Join us for part 3. Welcome back. We've spent the last 2 parts really kind of unpacking Leprechaun origins. And let me tell you, it's been
a journey.
It has.
From cheeky trickster to full-blown horror monster.
Yeah.
This reboot really took a hard left.
It did. And I think that's what makes it so interesting to talk about.
Yeah, for sure.
Right. It's not your typical Leprechaun story.
Yeah.
It really challenges what we think about, leprechauns, and makes us think about horror in a new way.
It's a good reminder that even in a genre like horror, which has been, done so many times.
Right.
There's still room for experimentation.
Yeah, totally. And sometimes those experiments work.
Yeah.
And sometimes they don't.
Yeah, exactly. But either way, it gets people talking.
It does.
And it forces us to really examine what we want from a movie.
Totally.
So after all this discussion, where do we land on Leprechaun? Origins.
It's tough.
Is it a hidden gem? Is it a complete fumble?
I think it falls somewhere in between.
Okay.
It's a flawed film, for sure.
Okay.
But it's not without its merits.
I'll give it points for audacity.
Oh.
They really went for it with this one.
They did.
Trying to just completely reinvent what a leprechaun is.
Yeah. And the atmosphere is fantastic.
Oh, the atmosphere, that creepy village, the isolation, that sense of dread.
They nailed it.
They really nailed it.
Yeah.
It makes you almost want to book a trip to Ireland.
Almost.
Just to experience that spooky vibe.
Maybe not.
Probably
stick to the tourist traps for this one.
But even if the film as a whole doesn't quite work, there are definitely elements that are worth appreciating. And who knows?
Yeah.
Maybe in a few years, we'll look back on it and be like, ooh, Leprechaun. Origins.
Yeah.
That was a cult classic.
Yeah.
Ahead of its time.
Right.
Stranger things have happened.
They have.
In the horror world.
Oh, yeah.
Sometimes it takes a while.
It does.
For a film to find its audience.
Yeah.
So to our listener, if you're curious, give it a shot.
Go in with an open mind.
Yeah. Don't expect it to be a carbon copy of the originals.
Exactly.
Maybe you'll discover something unexpected.
Yeah. Something that makes you think about horror in a new way.
In a good way.
And if not, hey, at least it's a conversation starter.
Exactly.
Right.
And that's valuable.
It is.
All right, folks, that wraps up our deep dive into Leprechaun. Origins.
We covered a lot of ground.
You did.
Explored different perspectives.
Yeah.
Hopefully we sparked some interesting thoughts.
Hopefully.
Along the way.
So until next time.
Yeah.
Keep exploring those unexpected corners.
Keep it creepy.
Of the horror genre.
You never know what you might find.
You never know.
Even in the darkest, most unexpected places.
And remember, sometimes the most memorable villains are the ones that are a little bit scary.
Yeah.
A little bit funny.
A little bit of both.
And a whole lot of personality.
That's the key.
That's the key.
Keep that in mind.
Yeah.
Next time you watch a horror movie.
Or if you happen to stumble across a little green fella.
At the end of the rainbow.
Safe travels.
And sweet dreams.